This summer, a fresh tortellini Italian pasta salad is going to be on the menu because it is chocked full of so much flavor and so many good things. I'm going to take you through each step so you can see all the different components that came together to make this perfect salad. We're making it in my Iowa farmhouse today, but you're going to make it in your home soon. Let's go. So a tortellini Italian pasta salad starts with all the good components, which are gonna be a lot of great add-ins from salami to olives, pepperoncini, even some marinated artichokes. Of course it needs a good dressing, but it really starts with the tortellini. I'm using dried. You can also use the fresh that cooks in a lot quicker time. Mine is a cheese tortellini, meaning it is filled with cheeses, which to me adds even more flavor. The dried takes a little bit longer to cook, but we're talking 10, 12 minutes. It's not really that long. So what I have over here is water that has come to a boil. The important thing anytime you ever cook a pasta, you want to salt the water. Some people say like the sea, but more what's important is this seasons the pasta. All this salt does not go into the pasta, but it seasons it. So I'm gonna put a nice dose of salt in there when it's boiling. You don't want to do it before it boils. And then add in my tortellini so it can start cooking. So as this is cooking, we're going to start just really cooking our red pepper. So I'm gonna be watching the pasta. What I wanna do is actually take a red pepper. I think the rawness sometimes in the salad can be a little abrasive, the texture, so I like to blacken on all sides. We're just gonna cook this red pepper until it's blackened on a dry skillet. I have my grill pan up on the stove, so we're gonna use that. But I wanna do it until it's blackened, then we'll take that outer skin off. And this way of fire roasting them, I don't like to do it directly on the flame. That can be drippy, it can really make your stove dirty. It's great to do it on the grill though if you wanna go outside. But instead I'm just gonna do it on a really hot skillet or grill pan until it's blackened all the way around. And we'll let it steam just a little bit. This is the only cooking component other than the pasta until we just need to make the dressing after this. The tortellini has cooked, and yes, I do the ultimate sin and I rinse it with cold water. I wanna stop the cooking and I don't mind getting that starch off just because I don't want it to clump together. So when I make a pasta salad, that's why I rinse it with cold water. Stop the cooking, let it drip dry, so that's what it's doing right now. Now what I have also done over here, let's go look at this beautiful red pepper. Now you can buy them pre-done, you can buy fire roasted peppers, they're in a jar. Does that make it easier? Sure. But you know what, doing it by yourself is not that hard, and you could do it on an outdoor grill. But what I wanna do now is let this sit and steam a little bit, because that actually makes so we can get off that skin. We added the flavor, but you do wanna take off a lot of the skin, so putting a lid on or some type of wrap will just make sure it can kind of steam there. While that's happening, we can get ready the dressing. Now, a lot of times when I'm using fresh herbs, I like to make a dressing in something that will just blend it. So I'm gonna use a small food processor. I think that makes it super simple, super easy, and we're making a really quick homemade Italian dressing for this salad, and it's gonna go with everything we're adding. We wanna have a lot of flavor in it, that's why we're using fresh herbs. So we're gonna start with good olive oil. It's the base of the dressing. We wanna add that right in here. And I'm gonna put everything in here. That's what's nice about this. We don't have to chop, we don't have to whisk. I do wanna add some red wine vinegar. I make my own red wine vinegar. Whenever time I have a little bit of red wine left, and yes, I know if you drink it, you're like, how do you have it left? But if I do, I add in some just apple cider vinegar to it and then let it sit for long enough until it makes just red wine vinegar out of everything. It's wonderful. So to that, I'm also gonna add a small amount, very small amount of balsamic vinegar. That adds a little bit of sweetness. And I think you wanna balance these sweet, tangy flavors with all the vinegar. I think it's really nice how it does that. I also wanna make sure I add some shallot. And what I'm doing is just roughly chopping. So if you don't know what a shallot is, they're a little bit longer, usually have a pointy end. You wanna take off the outer layer just like an onion and that root end, but then add it in. It has a sweeter, lighter onion flavor, which I think is important. I wanna add in a couple cloves of garlic. And again, we don't have to chop them, but I do smash them because that just makes that outer husk come off. I am just beginning to go harvest all the garlic that I plant. That's one of my favorite times. So I will be using all of that here soon enough again. So I'm gonna put those right in there. We're gonna do, of course, some salt. Super important to do some salt. You need that to really add in the flavor. We're gonna do some black pepper. We're also gonna do a little bit of red pepper flakes. Yes, this is spicy. If you wanna leave them out, you can, but spice is life. It's nice to have them in there. I, of course, am still gonna add some Dijon mustard. Now, I will always get a couple people asking, can I leave this out? I don't like Dijon mustard or mustard at all. You can leave it out. I think once it's in here, it adds an underlying flavor enhancer and binder that I think is super important. Am I gonna make you put it in? No, I will not police you in your house if you wanna leave it out. I think it really does though add something to it, even if you think you don't like mustard. So to this now are the herbs, the extra flavor we're gonna add. So I go out always to my garden, see what I have, go get kind of a little bouquet of them. It's gonna start with the two to me that are really essential, which is oregano and basil. Both of these are gonna add such a pop of flavor, and I am making sure to take off the leaves from these. So we have basil leaves, which have that fresh, beautiful fragrance. We all know what they smell like, and that's what's important is you wanna have fresh so you get all that flavor in there. Now, if you wanna use dried, usually, as you know, it takes less of the amount because it's condensing those oils and those flavors. So you usually use about half the amount of dried as you would fresh. But in this case, it can be such a flavor impact. So I wanna make sure I get plenty of my oregano in there. And you can see you have to go through, strip off those leaves, but that's gonna get those essential oils and everything right in there and blend them right into the dressing. So now that this is all in there, all those leaves, all that flavor, I can just put the top on, and then we're gonna start blending this, and soon it will just be completely emulsified together. Once it's all blended together, you can see how simple that was. Now, I always think it's important, anything you make, always test it, always try it. Even a dressing, that's really good. It has so much flavor, and I love that fresh herb flavor in it. I just think it hits different. And when you have it and you wanna use it, I think it's just a great time. So that can set aside now. And all we're gonna do is make sure we have the pepper ready. Otherwise, it's just going to be chopping the olives and putting everything together. So what I wanna do, take that pepper, it's been sitting there steaming. And like I said, you can do this in anything, but what you're gonna notice, one, everything just comes apart super easy. See how everything pulls off? But you also see how the skin, I'm just gonna open it up, I think that'll be easier. We're gonna have some liquid in it from it steaming. Just pour the liquid out, and then when you put it upside down and you expose all the skin, you see how you can just scrape? And it gets all the excess, because the skin would now be kind of toothy, and it wouldn't have the best texture. So what I can do is just rub it off and then slice this up and just chop it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take all of it, do this, chop it, and we're gonna put this whole salad together. I'm just finishing dicing or chopping everything up. So you can see I have the red pepper in nice dice. It has a nice softness to it. I like, that's, if I'm gonna eat bell pepper raw, that's how I'm gonna do it. I like it roasted and I like it sliced. So then I also kind of just roughly chopped my olives. I didn't need them super fine or sliced perfectly. I like to get a mix. I like to kind of be, should we call it bougie? What it is just having a better kind of mix of them, the Kalamata, the Castelvetrano. I like those mix of big, beautiful olives. They have that nice brininess to them and the flavor, instead of just black olives that are kind of one note and don't have as much flavor. I like the mixture of a really good gourmet olive. So now it's all about putting it together and presenting it, which I think is super important. So what we have here is all of our tortellini. I'm gonna put it right here in this bowl. And look how beautiful this is. So what I wanna do now is pour this dressing right over it. Now, noodles, their nature is that they soak things up. So I always find this is better an hour or two after you make it. So you put it in the fridge, you let everything just sit together. You make sure you don't put your blade in there because that could cause some issues and no one would like that. But what I wanna do is just make sure that these noodles start soaking in this beautiful dressing. But look how already this simple is really gorgeous on its own, but we're not done. What we're gonna do now is put on all of our different components before I mix it together. So I have red onion, and notice I did a dice on it. That to me is super important because I'm gonna pull out those pieces I didn't dice as well. But what I wanna make sure is that everything is somewhat the same size, same shape. So when it mixes in, it has the ability to kind of be palatable in the same way, which I think is important. I do have some of our red pepper. Now, if there's any collected juice from that red pepper, put it in. That's completely okay. That's gonna be more seasoning, more flavor. I have these olives. Look how gorgeous they are. They're gonna have the brininess, like I said. They're gonna have all those goodness that you want. Now, one way just to have something ready to go, jarred, marinated, not olives, but artichoke hearts. When you can buy them already marinated, they're gonna obviously just have more flavor on their own. We don't have to add the flavor. That to me is super important. Then some salami. Now, you can buy thick cut salami, you can do more thin cut. I like just to take this and just chop it up. Do it again in a dice. And this is to me just a great way. The salami has a saltiness to it, which is a seasoning on its own, but it also has that flavor that just is reminiscent of just a good kind of Italian vibe that all these flavors are going into. And that to me is what's super important here, is we're having all these to give us flavor impact, really amp it up. Now, this is a salad for a gathering. This is a salad for a summer party, a 4th of July gathering, Memorial Day, Labor Day. And it's gonna be one that people ask for time and again. So I also have some pepperoncini. They have a little bit of spice, but they're also pickled. So they have all that goodness. And then on top, I went out to the garden. We're gonna grab some parsley and we're gonna chop this up, and we're gonna finish by putting everything together with some chopped parsley. We're gonna mix this together, and it's time to eat. There was no way I was going to completely make a mess of myself and stir this all on camera, but I have it mostly tossed together. You can see what a gorgeous presentation this is. Really, this is inspired by those beautiful places you can go into and have food ready to go, where you kind of choose what you want and get a pound or two of it, but you can make it at home. You don't have to go somewhere to buy it. This is something you can make at home, and it's festive, it's beautiful, and it's a presentation in itself. Now to finish it, I think big shards of Parmesan cheese are like just the finishing touch. I mean, and what I do to do this is I just take just a nice peeler and make nice shards of Parmesan cheese right on top, which, look at that. Look at how beautiful that is when they're just mixed in there, and you're gonna have so much of that good Parmesan flavor. That's what I love. This is one of my favorite salads, and it's a great way to just enjoy something festive. Go for it, go in there, try it. Ooh, olive. That's a good bite. You get noodle, olive, and artichoke, and salami. It's good already. Flavor layer. And it's only gonna get better in the next couple hours. That's what I love about this. It's gonna marinate in that beautiful dressing we made. All those flavors are gonna continue to marry and meld and just even amplify more, which is what I love. So I hope what you see is good food as possible to make at home. That's what I always want to just make sure people understand, is that you don't have to go somewhere, you don't have to get takeout. You can make gorgeous food like this, serve it to your family, serve it to your friends, bring people together, gather around the table. That's what it's all about, making food on my farm and hopefully showing you that you can do the same. So share this recipe around, share this video around, because of course it helps me, but it helps other people see, if I can do it, you can do it too. We all can do it. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. If you're making this salad, you're gonna want more things to go with it, and I have you covered. So check it out, make this, enjoy it. You're gonna make it time and again this summer, I promise.